Good afternoon, and thank you. It's a privilege to join you at this moment, at a moment that the conference rightly calls a century-defining transformation. We all feel it. Power, trade, and technology are shifting. New centres of innovation are emerging, and challenges such as climate, food, and public health are simply too large for one country to solve alone. In moments like this, global governance can feel pretty abstract. But for those of us representing business on the ground, it comes down to a really practical question. Can we still plan, invest, and cooperate with confidence across borders in a more complex world? As chair of the China-Australia Chamber of Commerce, I see this every day through the lens of a mid-sized, open economy like Australia, deeply integrated with China and the Indo-Pacific, and a business community that's here in China turning policy into high-quality projects. And despite the ups and downs of recent years, China and Australia have shown that stabilization and practical cooperation are possible, even in challenging times. And that's an important foundation for looking ahead. From the business front line, global governance ultimately comes down to three things. First, practical and open trade rules. Companies don't need perfect stability, but they do need predictability. Recent stabilization in China-Australia trade has reminded us how valuable that is. Second, coherent and comparable standards, especially in the green and digital economy. China and Australia are both committed to energy transition and high-quality development. We don't need identical rules, but if standards for carbon accounting, for green finance, for electric vehicles or digital security move too far out of sync, projects become more costly and much slower. Fragmentation slows the transition for everyone. Third, stable frameworks for people and data. Innovation and the ability to commercialize is fundamental to economic progress. But none of it works without clear frameworks that allow people, ideas, and data to move across borders. That's why businesses care so deeply about qualification, recognition, visa, and data governance rules, because these frameworks determine whether talent can move, whether ideas can flow, and whether innovation can be turned into trade and investment. So when companies ask about China's role in global governance, they're really asking, will rules, standards, and flows of people and data become more manageable or less so? I remain cautiously optimistic about our ability to deepen cooperation, because practical collaboration is already happening, often far more than people realize. In energy transition, Australia brings trusted resources, strong research capability, and globally aligned regulatory frameworks that support safe, transparent, and bankable projects. China brings manufacturing scale, rapid commercialization ability, and growing green finance. If our standards align well enough, we can build joint capability in hydrogen, critical minerals processing, batteries, and low-carbon materials for our two countries and for the region. In agriculture and food systems, China's demand for safe, reliable, climate-resilient food will grow. Australia can help meet that demand. The next step is cooperation in traceability, biosecurity, and climate-smart agriculture. In healthcare and aging, both our societies are aging and both are innovating. There's space for joint work on regulation, on clinical standards, and on data frameworks that protect privacy and intellectual property while enabling research and commercialization. In education, people and people-to-people links. These are perhaps the most enduring forms of global governance because they build the understanding that makes everything else possible. And in fast-moving and challenging times, these relationships sustain trust, support dialogue, and help resolve difficulties when they arise. Across all these areas, digital trade and e-commerce are becoming the infrastructure that connects producers, consumers, investors, and ideas. And governance will determine how smoothly that system works too. These are not theoretical opportunities. They're real. And with the right frameworks, they could support much larger investment, innovation, and joint capability. To support these areas of cooperation, I suggest 3 principles to guide our progress. First, include more voices at the table. Global governance works best when it includes not only major powers, but also mid-sized economies and business. Second, focus on implementation. Vision matters, of course, but companies, they live in the world of implementation. Predictable decisions, comparable standards, and clarity across jurisdictions. Third, partnership over fragmentation. Let's face it, strategic competition is real. But from where I sit, the goal is de-risking, not decoupling. We need resilience. And we also need the space to build joint capability in sectors that matter for our people and for the planet. So if global governance can give us predictable rules, interoperable standards, and stable frameworks for the management of people, knowledge, and data, then the businesses like those that I represent are ready to turn that into meaningful projects in clean energy, food security, healthcare, and education, delivering benefits in China, in Australia, and across the region. Because in this century-defining moment, the question isn't just whether we build together. It's whether we have the courage to do it. Thank you.